Hello and welcome to this video. By watching this video, you are hereby agreeing to be a part of this experiment. We will now begin. Name what these three images are. What is this? How about this? And finally this. If you answered zombie
to all of these photos, you are correct. So, despite everyone knowing what zombies are, why are zombies not as popular as they should be? And why do zombies, specifically found in films, gross lower numbers at the box office when logic says these popular foes should be a smashing hit? Today, viewers, I'm going to answer a question you didn't know you had. Why do zombie films make less? As mentioned at the start of the video, there's no doubt that zombies are one of the most popular horror icons ever. We have movies and shows like The Last of Us, The Walking Dead, Resident Evil, and more, which have generated billions of dollars in revenue due to interest in the undead genre. But the concept of zombies is not recent. Humans have been fascinated with the undead as shown by ancient cultures like ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, and ancient Greek mythology, each containing their own versions of reanimated undead. Our fascination with the undead has been around for millennia, but how does that carry around to the modern day? Well, unlike centuries ago, rather than zombies being an integral part of our religion, it's become something we pay money to watch unfold on a screen. Viewers interested in the genre have three main formats to interact with zombie content: movies, TV shows, or video games. Now, while we're going to focus on zombies within films, it would be criminal not to mention the prevalence of zombies in gaming. Some of the most popular franchises featuring zombies like Resident Evil, Dying Light, and The Last of Us have individually made nearly $1 billion in either revenue or value. Video games and zombies go hand in hand as a genre and media format. But when you turn to zombie films, you'll find that some of the highest grossing zombie films lie below the $600 million mark. Now, I'm not downplaying that amount of money. It's a lot, especially when you consider the budgets of some of these films. They're considered successes by the studios. But why do these films sputter out at this mark specifically? Well, it's a large number of factors, so let's dive in. The first hurdle zombie films have to deal with is how the public perceives the horror genre. It's important to note that the horror title covers a wide spectrum of horror. The action zombie movie World War Z has the horror tag, just like the movie The Conjuring. And if you've seen both of these movies, you'll know that these are entirely different films. That fact alone works against zombie films. Horror has a very niche audience. It's a special demographic that is entertained by suspense, scares, and gore. Meanwhile, the wider moviegoer demographic is not that interested in watching these things. This means that if a studio really wants to get butts in movie seats for a horror movie, they need to do something extremely special or unique to have a selling point. These films almost need to bribe people to let down their guard against horror and give the film a shot. An example of this can be found in that large success, World War Z. This film is the perfect example of stacking the chips in your favor so that audiences almost have to watch your movie. The film features a superstar actor, Brad Pitt, playing the primary character, and Brad Pitt is known for delivering captivating performances that has earned him a ton of respect in the film space. World War Z also has a rating of PG-13. Which naturally assures potential viewers that they aren't in for a brutal gore fest that their stomachs can't handle. It establishes that the film will be modest and watchable for the average person. And don't forget that PG-13 also opens the door for a younger demographic of viewers who can now watch the film. And thirdly, World War Z breaks a trend within the zombie film space that has long plagued the genre, that being budget. Let me explain. Due to the predictable audience found within the horror genre, for many years, zombie and horror films have focused on having smaller budgets to minimize the risk of losing money and to maximize any possible gains. Sure, the film may be good, but the project's grandness, scale, and ambition can be capped from a financial standpoint. Some of the crazier shots and scenes that directors and writers want to film aren't possible due to the lack of funding. And when films lack proper funding to experiment and explore new ideas, they fall into a similar pattern each time they're made. This leads to a significant problem with the zombie genre. With most films feeling the same regarding plot, setting, and tone, fans start to become apathetic. And in an era where most moviegoers need an incentive to watch a film in theaters rather than waiting for it to release on a streaming platform, not using a larger budget does the genre no favors. So with that in mind, what did World War Z do that made it so successful? Well, it spent money. And when I say money, I'm talking about dropping an estimated $190 million on this film. That's so much money that it puts it in the same tier as Fantastic Four, which spent around $200 million, and Superman, which cost around $225 million. World War Z's budget shows in this film as Brad Pitt's character travels around the world as he fights zombies and eventually discovers a way to counteract the zombie virus in a lab. The traveling and the distinct scenery of different locations where his character goes are a massive selling point to this film and lead to some of the most most interesting scenes in zombie cinema, in my opinion. You have zombies rapidly climbing up a wall in Jerusalem, running through the streets of Philadelphia, and chasing Brad Pitt through a medical research facility. Even Will Smith's film, I Am Legend, which is a different take on the zombie apocalypse genre, spent around $150 million to ensure that all the set design and atmosphere were perfect. And the studio was rewarded with a box office of $585 million for their effort. If the money is there to be made, what's the problem? Well, the main problem is that large financial commitments from studios for zombie films are a tough thing to pitch. You'd have a tough time convincing a film studio to invest in a new zombie IP when they can easily throw their money into other proven franchises, which can return more money 9 times out of 10. And look at this year's box office numbers for more proof. Of the 20 highest grossing films of 2025, only 2 were 100% original IPs with no previous ties, Sinners and Weapons. These 2 films made well beyond their budget, but they still prove my point that the zombie genre doesn't stand a chance in the eyes of movie studio executives, especially when most zombie films need to create their own story and characters from scratch. There's no already existent superheroes or characters that they can pull from, which increases the risk. Personally, I think their apprehension is a bit ridiculous. Look at films like I Am Legend and World War Z. While yes, they are loosely based on books of the same name, they share very few similarities with the literature and had to develop their own characters and narrative. And for those efforts, they were paid pretty well. And in the few cases where studios fed into an even larger existing zombie IP, it rewarded them even more. The largest example of this is Resident Evil. If you've never heard of it, Resident Evil is a long-running horror action series centered around humanity's struggle against the Umbrella Corporation's bioengineered viruses, featuring zombies and other mutated monsters. The video game series has sold around 170 million copies worldwide and is regarded as iconic within the gaming sphere. Because of this, it made sense for the franchise to have film adaptations made. The main live-action films were released from 2002 to 2016. Over that period of time, the films grossed a total box office of $1.2 billion. That's amazing. And what makes this shocking is that these movies received a lot of criticism from fans and critics over their lack of proper continuity, character development, poor cinematography, the list goes on. And despite all of these criticisms, the name Resident Evil meant so much to fans of the franchise around the world that no matter how garbage the film was, they felt they needed to watch it. Take that example and compare it to franchises like Marvel and Jurassic World, which have released some widely criticized films over the past 5 years, but despite that, they still rake in hundreds of millions of dollars. Hollywood needs to give the genre a chance to create a lasting and sustainable franchise with the right budget. Because if they do, they might find more money in their pockets, and we all know that's the one thing they care about. But unfortunately, there's one more massive hurdle as to why zombie films don't perform as well as you'd expect. In fact, it's a hurdle so immense that they charge you monthly to watch it, and that's streaming platforms. With so many platforms scrambling to put together content to keep you subscribed, every platform has taken a shot at almost every genre. They're trying to make sure every viewer finds the content they want on the platform to justify that monthly charge. One of those genres frequently tapped into is zombie horror. Why is that? To answer that question, let's look at one of the most popular pieces of zombie media of all time, The Walking Dead. In my opinion, people forget about The Walking Dead and the legendary run it once had far too easily. Unlike most modern shows that are released on streaming services, The Walking Dead's peak popularity was when it was on cable television. In fact, during season 6 of the show, an estimated 24 million viewers watched each episode on cable. This number looks even crazier when you consider that during Game of Thrones' run on cable television, it only averaged around 13 million viewers, meaning that The Walking Dead nearly doubled it. And for those wondering how the show became this popular, it all comes down to the format. You see, zombie television shows have the benefit of expanding upon their world and characters over episodes and seasons, unlike films, which typically have around 2 hours to do so. This means TV shows can dive deeper into the aspects of zombie survival, like resource management, individual human drama, gritty survival, and larger group dynamics. Storylines and plot points have more time to brew and develop, so the payoff for viewers can be more satisfying. A similar thing occurs in another massive hit, The Last of Us. Viewers spend time with Joel and Ellie over the course of multiple episodes, seeing them develop from begrudging travel companions to developing a relationship similar to that of a father and daughter. Simply put, the seasonal format works with zombies, and is a large part of The Walking Dead's success. This success behind the zombie TV series has stuck with the genre since then, and has led to some of the largest streaming successes, like All of Us Are Dead and The Last of Us. All of Us Are Dead, a Korean zombie show, became the largest non-English series on Netflix, and The Last of Us took a popular video game and made a massive hit on HBO Max, breaking records on the streaming service and earning numerous awards. So, what does this mean? Unfortunately for some of us, the zombie genre may never reach its true potential in theaters. It may be forever doomed to rule the charts on streaming platforms and never get a real shot at taking over cinemas. The only hope in the future is when you press the like button, and when Zach Kreger, director of Weapons and Barbarian, gets his chance to make the next Resident Evil film series. Hey, maybe that rumored I Am Legend sequel will finally be released and shock the world. Aside from that, hope you learned something. See you next time.